My name is Madeline Carter. I'm 32 years old. And I didn't know my marriage was already dead until I walked into my bedroom after a 12-hour shift and realized my husband had turned my pain into a punchline. Last Tuesday was one of those shifts that makes you question what the human body can survive. I'm an ER nurse, and that night we had two codes: a stabbing victim who bled through 3 sets of sheets, and a toddler who somehow swallowed a Lego and started turning blue like a little plastic tragedy. By the time I clocked out, my scrubs looked like they belonged in a biohazard bin. My head pounded, and my bones felt hollow. All I wanted was a shower and my bed. Not even intimacy. Not conversation. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you beg for when you've spent 12 hours surrounded by alarms, crying families, and the kind of screaming that doesn't stop when the patient stops breathing. It was around 11 p.m. when I pushed open our apartment door. The lights were dim. Too dim, like someone had staged the place for romance. That was my first warning, but I didn't catch it. I kicked off my shoes, dropped my bag by the entryway. My hair was still in the brutal, tight bun I wear under my cap, and every step I took felt like my body was complaining. I called out, half asleep already. "Ryan?" No answer. Just this faint sound. A muffled giggle. Not mine. Not feminine. Not even normal in the middle of the night. I froze in the hallway. Then I walked towards our bedroom, because what else do? You don't imagine the worst at first. You imagine something stupid. A TV show. A podcast. Maybe he was on the phone. I pushed the bedroom door open, and time didn't stop. But something in me did. The room was lit by the warm glow of a bedside lamp turned low, like a movie scene trying to pretend it wasn't about to ruin my life. Under the covers, our covers, were 2 bodies. One was my husband, and the other, a woman I had never seen before in my life. She was pressed against him like she belonged there, like she'd done it 100 times. Her hair was messy in that staged way, her makeup too perfect for bedtime. And what she was wearing, I recognized it instantly. Black lace. The lingerie set I bought for our anniversary. The one he told me made me look dangerous. My throat closed so hard I thought I might actually pass out. Ryan's head lifted slowly as if he'd been expecting me. And then he smiled. He didn't jump. He didn't panic. He didn't even look guilty. He just smiled. Like this was a cute surprise party and I was late. And then the woman beside him giggled again. Actually giggled. And I saw the shine of her eyes as she turned her head toward me like I was the audience. Ryan lifted his phone. It was recording. "Oh my God," he said, laughing, voice bright. "Babe, you're home early." I didn't speak. I couldn't. My brain was still trying to translate what my eyes were screaming. I stood there in my scrubs, my stethoscope still around my neck, my hands hanging useless at my sides. I had just come from saving lives, and here was my husband, destroying mine for entertainment. The woman pulled the blanket up higher like she was shy, but her smile was smug, rehearsed. Ryan tilted the phone, angling it better. There was a tiny red dot on the screen. Recording. Then he said it, like he was delivering the best line of the night. "Surprise, it's a prank for TikTok." He waved the phone a little, like it was a prop. "Aren't you going to freak out?" My stomach dropped so violently I felt nauseous. A prank. A TikTok prank. That was the explanation. That was what he thought mattered. Not the fact that I'd just walked in and seen my husband in bed with another woman. Not the way the air had been sucked out of my lungs. Not the way my hands had started trembling like my body was trying to protect itself from something my mind couldn't handle. No, he wanted a reaction. He wanted me to break. He wanted me to scream and cry because that's what gets views. I stared at him, my vision sharp in that terrifying way it gets when you're in danger. And then I saw something else. Our Ring camera. Not at the front door. Not in the living room. In the bedroom. Angled. Pointed directly at the doorway. So it could capture me walking in. So it could capture my face. My horror. My heartbreak. My humiliation. I looked at the stranger. Then back at my husband. And I realized, with sick certainty, that this wasn't a joke. Not really. Because to do this, he had to plan it. He had to choose it. He had to set the light. Position the camera. Invite a woman into our bed. Put her in my lingerie. And then wait. Wait for me to come home exhausted and defenseless, expecting safety. Wait for the moment he could film my soul cracking. That's not comedy. That's cruelty with a ring light. Ryan laughed again, like my silence was part of the bit. "Madeline," he said, dragging my name like it was teasing. "Come on, say something." The woman beside him whispered, "Is she okay?" And that was when something snapped into place inside me. Not anger. Clarity. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't ask why. Because suddenly I understood something terrifying. If I reacted the way he wanted, I would be giving him what he came here for. I would be feeding the monster he'd become. So I did the only thing that still belonged to me. I turned around. Ryan sat up, surprised now. "Wait, babe," he called, voice changing, the laughter cracking. "Hold on, don't walk away. It's a joke." I walked to the dresser. My hands were steady, eerie steady. I grabbed my wallet, my keys, my phone. Ryan swung his legs out of bed, panicking. "Madeline, come on, stop. It's literally a prank. It's for TikTok." I didn't answer. I didn't even look at him, because if I looked, I might become human again. And I couldn't afford that yet. I walked out of the bedroom, out of the apartment. Ryan followed me, barefoot, voice rising. "Madeline, come back." I heard him laugh again, reflexive, like he still believed I'd play my role. "Babe, you're taking it too far. It's just content." I opened the door. He grabbed my wrist. I finally looked at him then. Not with rage, not with tears, just emptiness. And that scared him more than yelling ever could. He let go. I stepped into the hallway. The door shut behind me. And the last thing I heard, muffled through the wood, was his voice calling after me, still trying to pull me back into the script he'd written. "Madeline, you're ruining it." Ruining it. Not ruining us. Not ruining trust. Not ruining a marriage. Ruining the video. I walked to my car, sat behind the wheel, and for a moment, my hands hovered over the steering wheel as my body tried to catch up to what just happened. My heart beat slow, cold, like it didn't want to admit it was broken. Then I started the engine, and I drove. Not to a friend's house, not to a hotel, not to anywhere reasonable. I drove straight to the airport, because I knew if I stayed in this city, he'd find me. If I stayed near that apartment, I'd end up arguing, explaining, crying, giving him what he wanted. I needed distance the way drowning people need air. At the airport, I booked a one-way ticket to see my older sister Lauren across the country. It was after midnight. I sat at the gate wearing my scrubs, still smelling like antiseptic and tragedy, surrounded by travelers who had no idea my entire life had just been split into before and after. My phone buzzed. One call, then another, then another. Ryan, Ryan, Ryan. Then texts. At first, "OMG, you actually left a lol." Then, "Babe, come on, answer me." Then, "This isn't funny anymore." Then, "Madeline, pick up." Then, "Where are you?" I stared at the screen and something in my chest finally burned. Not love, not even anger, just the realization that the man I married believed my pain was negotiable. That betrayal could be edited. That dignity could be monetized. At 2 a.m., I boarded the plane. I didn't sleep. I watched the dark sky outside the window and felt something shift inside me, like my body had finally accepted the truth my mind didn't want to face. I wasn't leaving for a few days. I was leaving my marriage. When I landed 6 hours later, my phone showed 89 missed calls, 200 plus texts. Ryan had not stopped. Because to him, silence wasn't heartbreak. Silence was defiance. I finally typed one message. Just one. "I'm talking to a lawyer. Don't contact me again." Then I blocked him. But blocking him didn't stop the thing he cared about most. Because while I was sitting on my sister's couch trying not to shake apart, Ryan uploaded the video anyway. Cheating prank on wife goes wrong. And by the time I refreshed the page, it already had over 3 million views. And the comments? Half of them were laughing. Half of them were calling me dramatic. And the worst part? Ryan was still asking the same question, over email now, because blocking wasn't possible there. "Why are you doing this over a joke?" I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Then I whispered the truth into the quiet of my sister's living room. Because once you say it out loud, it becomes real. It wasn't a joke. I swallowed. It was a funeral. And in that moment, I knew. My marriage was over. Not because he pranked me, but because he filmed my heartbreak and called it content. I didn't sleep that first night at Lauren's. Not because the couch was uncomfortable. Lauren's guest room was the kind of soft, quiet space that usually fixes people. Clean sheets, a small lamp, a throw blanket that smelled like laundry detergent and home. But my body couldn't relax. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the bedroom again. The dim light, the black lace, the way Ryan smiled like I was late to my own humiliation. And worse than the image was the feeling that followed it. This cold, crawling awareness that I hadn't just been betrayed. I'd been produced. I woke up to Lauren making coffee in her kitchen like she was trying to build normalcy, brick by brick. She didn't ask for details again. I'd told her the basics at 3 a.m. with shaking hands and a voice that didn't sound like mine. She just slid a mug across the counter and said quietly, "Your phone hasn't stopped vibrating." I looked down. It was face up on the table like a live grenade, except it wasn't calls anymore because I'd blocked him. It was email. Subject lines stacked like accusations. "Why are you doing this? Please talk to me. You're overreacting. It's a prank. Mad line, please. He even misspelled my name once, like panic had chewed through his ability to type. I stared at the screen and realized something that made my stomach twist. He wasn't scared he lost me. He was scared he lost control of the narrative. Because while my hands were shaking around a coffee mug, Ryan was watching analytics. He was watching views climb. He was watching strangers pick sides like this was a sports game, and my humiliation was halftime entertainment. Lauren leaned on the counter, eyes sharp. Has he posted it? I didn't answer right away. Because saying yes made it real in a different way. It meant he hadn't just hurt me in private. He had published me. I opened TikTok. I didn't even have to search. It was already on the For You page because the algorithm loves disaster. There it was, a thumbnail of my own front door camera angle. My body stepping into frame. My face, caught in that split second before my mind could protect it. Text over the video in bold, bubbly letters. Cheating prank. On wife goes wrong. The number underneath was worse than I remembered. 32 million views. And climbing. I pressed play. Lauren put her hand on my wrist, like she could physically stop the damage. But I needed to see it. I needed to know what he showed. It started with upbeat music, like a party. Then the camera angle from the bedroom, low and deliberate, capturing the bed. Ryan was under the covers with the woman, both of them staged like a cheap soap opera. Then the door opened. Me. In scrubs. Stethoscope. Hair in that tight bun that makes me look like I have my life together, even when I don't. I stood there, frozen. And Ryan's voice, playful, sing-song, cut through the video. Babe, you're home early. Then, right when my throat moved, like I might speak, he cut to a different angle. The Ring camera shot. My face again. My eyes trying to process. My mouth slightly open like I'd been slapped. And then the caption appeared. She didn't even yell? In the comments, people treated my silence like it was a personality quiz. She's definitely cheating too, that's why she didn't react. She's so cold. Poor husband. Nah, she's in shock. This is messed up. It's literally a prank, y'all are sensitive. If my man did this, I'd be in jail. I felt my skin go hot. Lauren took the phone from my hand. Turn it off. But I couldn't. Because there, beneath the comments, was a little yellow icon that made my blood run cold. Monetized. He didn't just post it. He was making money off it. Lauren's voice came out low. Madeline, are you sure nothing happened? I snapped my head toward her. It wasn't accusation, it was fear. For me. Because if it was real cheating, then my leaving wasn't dramatic. It was survival. I swallowed hard. He claims it was a coworker's sister, that she was in on it. Lauren's jaw tightened. So he invited a stranger into your bed and filmed your face? Yes. She stared at me for a long beat, then said, That's not a prank. That's psychological torture with a ring light. That phrase stuck, because it was true. And it was the first time I felt something solid underneath the numbness. Not rage, not revenge, just a clear line in the sand. Lauren slid her phone across the table. Okay, what's your plan? I blinked. Plan? Madeline, she said gently, like she was talking to a trauma patient who still hadn't realized how bad the injury was. You're an ER nurse. You don't freeze when something's bleeding out. You stabilize. You call for backup. You document. You do the next right thing. My throat tightened. Treat this like a code, she continued. What's your next step? Backup. Documentation. The next right thing. My hands stopped shaking. I opened my email again and scrolled. Ryan's tone shifted with every message, like he was trying on different masks until one worked. First it was teasing. Hello, come on, you're really committing to the bit. Then confusion. Babe, it was a joke. Why aren't you answering? Then irritation. This is dramatic. Then pleading. Please don't do this. I'll delete it. Then, buried in the middle like a venomous seed. You're going to make me look like a monster. That one did it. Because it wasn't. I hurt you. It wasn't. I'm sorry. It was. You're ruining my image. Lauren watched my face shift and asked, What? I turned my laptop toward her so she could read it. Her expression went hard. Oh, so he's not sorry he did it. He's sorry it's costing him. My phone buzzed again. An email subject line popped up. Important. I clicked. Ryan's message was longer this time. Carefully written. Like he'd taken a breath, sat down, and decided to sound reasonable. Madeline, I understand you're upset. I get it. But you need to be rational right now. People are watching this. You can't just abandon our marriage over content. Everyone pranks. It's a trend. This is normal. And if you file for divorce, you'll ruin us. You'll ruin me. I'll explain it publicly and people will turn on you. Please think about what you're doing. Lauren let out a sound that wasn't quite a laugh. Did he just threaten you and call it rational? I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then I did what I should have done the moment I landed. I called a divorce attorney. Lauren had already found one by the time I asked. Apparently, being an older sister means you weaponize Google like it's your job. The attorney's office was quiet and modern, all gray carpeting and glass walls. Her name was Marissa Hale. She looked like someone who didn't lose. Mid-40s, sharp suit, sharp eyes, a mouth that didn't soften even when she smiled. I sat across from her with my hands clasped so tightly my knuckles were white. I felt ridiculous explaining it, even to myself. My husband staged a cheating prank, I said quietly, staring at her desk instead of her face. For TikTok, he had a woman in our bed. Marissa didn't blink. Did you see the video? I asked. I did, she said calmly. Twice, Lauren added from beside me, like she didn't trust the lawyer to have absorbed the full horror on one watch. Marissa tapped her pen once. This is going to help you more than you realize. I looked up. What he did, she said, is not just cruel, it's documented cruelty. He invited a stranger into the marital bed, created a situation designed to cause you distress, filmed it without consent in a private space, and then profited from it. My stomach twisted. Is that illegal? It depends, she said carefully. But it's certainly powerful. In this state, bringing someone into the marital home in that context can be argued as a serious violation, and monetizing it makes it worse. It becomes exploitation. It becomes evidence of emotional abuse. That word hit me like a slap. Abuse. I had spent years in the ER treating abuse victims who insisted he didn't mean it. He was just angry. He apologized. And here I was, wanting to downplay what Ryan did because it sounded too insane to be real. Marissa slid a folder toward me. We can file for divorce on irreconcilable differences, but given the evidence, we can also include emotional abuse. His messages reinforce it. His public posts reinforce it. Lauren's hand found my knee under the table, steadying. Marissa leaned forward slightly. Has he tried to contact you in person? No, I said, not yet. Marissa nodded like she'd expected that word at the end. Yet. He will, she said simply. People like this don't like losing the story. Something cold settled in my chest. Because she was right. Ryan wasn't mourning me. He was mourning the version of me he thought he could control. Marissa continued. We file. He gets served at work. He panics. He tries to negotiate privately. He tries to pressure you through family. He might try to post more. You do not engage directly. Everything goes through me. I swallowed. Okay. Marissa's expression softened, just a fraction. You did the right thing leaving. Most people stay and argue. You removed yourself. That's the strongest move you could have made. It should have made me feel better. Instead, it made tears sting the back of my eyes. Because strength doesn't erase the fact that I loved him. 5 years. 5 years of building routines, sharing groceries, laughing over dumb TV shows, planning vacations. And now my life was a viral punchline. Marissa slid a paper toward me. Sign here. My hand hovered. The pen felt heavy. Not because I didn't want divorce, but because signing meant admitting there was no saving what he'd done. Lauren whispered, Mad. This isn't a marriage. This is a content farm. I signed. The pen scratched across the page like a final breath. Marissa nodded once. We'll file today. 2 days later, Ryan was served at the dental office where he worked the front desk. I didn't get to see his face, but I heard about it from a mutual friend who couldn't resist giving me the play-by-play. He cried, the friend said, like full sobbing. He made a scene. His boss had to take him into the back. My throat tightened, not with sympathy, with exhaustion, because I could already picture it. Ryan performing, even in real life, even in a workplace. Always an audience. That night, my phone rang from an unknown number. Lauren and I were eating takeout on her couch, the TV on, but neither of us watching. I stared at the screen. Unknown. Then it rang again, and again. Lauren lifted an eyebrow. Don't. But my thumb moved anyway. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the last piece of me that still believed I could get closure through conversation. I answered. Are you serious right now? Ryan's voice cracked through the line, sharp and high. Divorce over a prank? My chest went tight. I didn't answer. He barreled on. You're humiliating me. I let out a slow breath. You humiliated me for internet clout. It was a joke, he snapped. Everyone does prank videos. Not with strangers in their spouse's bed, I said. Oh my God, you're being ridiculous. His voice went trembly. She's my coworker's sister. She's gay. Nothing happened. I stared at the wall, feeling something ancient and tired settle over me. I don't care if she's the Pope, I said quietly. You put a stranger in my bed and filmed my reaction to what looked like you cheating. He sputtered. But I told you it was a prank right away. No, I cut in, my voice calm enough to scare even me. You let me walk in and process it first. You wanted my pain. You got it. Now you're dealing with the consequences. Silence. Then I heard him cry. Real sobbing this time, or maybe just better acting. At that point, I couldn't tell. Please, he whispered, don't do this. I'll delete the video. I'll apologize publicly. I'll do whatever you want. Lauren's eyes were locked on me, silently begging me not to soften. My throat ached. I want a divorce, I said. You're throwing away 5 years, he choked out. I swallowed. You threw it away the moment you decided my heartbreak was content, I said. And then I hung up. I blocked the number. I sat there staring at my phone like it had just bitten me. Lauren reached for my hand. You okay? I nodded. But my body didn't feel okay. It felt like shock in slow motion. And that's when the next wave hit. Not Ryan. Not TikTok. Family. Lauren's phone buzzed. She glanced down and her expression changed. It's Mom, she said. My stomach dropped. She answered on speaker. Our mother's voice came through tight and angry. Madeline, she said. Ryan's mother called me. Lauren's hand tightened around mine. What did she say? I asked, already knowing the answer would hurt. Our mother exhaled hard. She said you're heartless, that you can't take a joke, that you're ruining her son's life over nothing. A bitter laugh almost escaped me. Nothing. A staged betrayal in my bed. My face broadcast to millions. My marriage treated like a comedy skit. Nothing. My mother's voice softened. I told her this isn't a joke. It's humiliation. And if Ryan thinks he can spin this, he's wrong. Lauren leaned forward. Did she threaten anything? Our mom hesitated. Yes, she admitted. She said she'll sue you for emotional distress, for what you're doing to Ryan. Lauren actually laughed then, sharp and disbelieving. I didn't, because I could hear it now, how this was going to go. Ryan's mother would scream, Ryan would cry, and the internet would keep watching like it was all part of the show. My mother continued, voice firm now. Listen to me. Do not contact them directly. Everything through the lawyer. Do you understand? I closed my eyes. Yes, I whispered. After the call ended, Lauren turned the TV off. The silence was thick. I stared at my hands and realized they were trembling again. Not from fear of Ryan, from the realization that this wasn't just a breakup. This was a war for reality, because Ryan wasn't just trying to get me back. He was trying to convince the world I was the villain. And deep down, I knew something else too. If he was willing to put a stranger in our bed for views, he would be willing to do worse to protect his image. I looked at Lauren. My voice came out thin. He's going to post again, isn't he? Lauren didn't hesitate. Yes, she said, and he's going to cry. I swallowed. And people will believe him. Lauren leaned closer, eyes steady. Then we stopped playing defense. We start documenting everything. My phone buzzed again. Another email. Subject line. I'm posting my side. I stared at it, and the cold in my chest spread like ice, because the prank had been the opening act. And Ryan hadn't even started the main show yet. Ryan posted again the next morning. I didn't see it because I went looking. I saw it because 3 different people sent it to me within 10 minutes. Same platform, same app, same man, different mask. This time the thumbnail was him alone. No bed, no stranger, no prank music. Just Ryan sitting on our couch, my couch, hunched forward, elbows on knees, hands shaking like he'd rehearsed vulnerability in the mirror. The caption read, "My wife abandoned me over a prank. I've lost everything." I didn't click it at first. Lauren did. She watched in silence, jaw clenched, while I stood behind her and tried to prepare myself for whatever version of reality he was about to sell. Ryan's voice came out hoarse, like he'd been crying for hours. I made a mistake, he said, staring down at his hands. I was trying to make fun content. Everyone does pranks. I never thought she'd just leave. He paused, wiped his eyes. I loved her. I still love her, and now she won't even talk to me. She blocked me everywhere. She filed for divorce like I'm some kind of monster. Monster. The word landed like a calculated plea. Then he said the line that made Lauren slam the phone face down on the table. She was always kind of emotionally distant. Cold. I guess this just proved she never really cared. I felt something twist deep in my chest. Not heartbreak. Not shock. Recognition. This was the pivot. The moment where the story stopped being, he hurt me, and became, she was the problem all along. Lauren swore under her breath. He's rewriting history. I nodded slowly. He's auditioning for sympathy. The comments were already pouring in. She sounds controlling. Red flag that she just left. If my wife did that to me, I'd be devastated. Men aren't allowed to make mistakes anymore. But mixed in were others. People who'd seen the original video. People who weren't buying it. You put a stranger in her bed, dude. That wasn't a prank. That was cruel. Why monetize it if it was just between you two? Ryan didn't respond to those. He liked the ones that painted him as the victim. Lauren looked at me. You need to stop watching this. I nodded again. But the damage was already done. Because once someone puts a version of you on the internet, you don't get to correct it. You only get to endure it. Marissa wasn't surprised. When I forwarded the video to her, she replied within 15 minutes. Do not engage. Screenshot everything. This is defamation adjacent. He's building a narrative. A narrative. Like this was a screenplay and I'd lost the right to approve my own character. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Again. I didn't answer. It rang 3 more times. Then a voicemail notification popped up. Against my better judgment, I listened. Madeline, a man's voice said, tight and nervous. This is, Chris. I'm the guy from the video. The one in the bed. My stomach dropped. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, he continued quickly. I swear I didn't know it was going to go this far. Ryan said it'd just be a quick scare, a laugh. I thought you'd yell and then he'd reveal it. I didn't think... He paused. I didn't think you'd look like that. My throat closed. Not because of him. Because even he could see what Ryan had done. I feel terrible, Chris said. I shouldn't have agreed. I just wanted to apologize. I waited a beat. Then I said very calmly, you should feel terrible. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. I walked into my home after saving lives, I continued, and saw my husband in bed with a stranger wearing my clothes. That's not a scare. That's trauma. I know, he whispered. I know, I'm sorry. I don't need your apology, I said. I need you to never contact me again. Then I hung up. Lauren exhaled slowly. Jesus. I didn't cry. I felt scraped raw, like every protective layer had been peeled back and exposed to the world. 2 days later, Marissa told me it was safe to retrieve my belongings. Do not go alone, she said. Bring a witness, and given his recent behavior, bring police. The word police made my stomach knot, but I agreed. Lauren flew back with me. She didn't even hesitate. We met a local officer outside the apartment building mid-morning. He was polite, neutral, clearly already tired of domestic disasters before lunch. Ryan wasn't home, which was good, and somehow worse. The apartment door opened with the same familiar click. The same hallway, the same place I'd left in silence, except now, it looked like a storm had passed through. My shoes were gone from the rack, replaced with a pile of clothes thrown against the wall. My work bag was dumped on the floor, contents spilled like garbage. The frame photo from our wedding, the one where I'm laughing because Ryan whispered something stupid in my ear, lay face down on the coffee table. The glass was cracked straight through my face. Lauren sucked in a sharp breath. The officer raised his eyebrows. You expect this? No, I said quietly, but I'm not surprised. The bedroom was worse. My dresser drawers had been yanked out and dumped. Clothes thrown everywhere, like evidence of a tantrum. My jewelry box was empty. My laptop, gone. The TV in the living room, gone. The console Ryan never used, but loved to brag about owning, gone. Lauren pulled out her phone immediately. I'm documenting everything. The officer nodded. Good. Photos of all damage. Anything missing, make a list. I moved through the apartment like I was walking through a stranger's home. The place where I'd lived, slept, planned a future, reduced to debris. This wasn't grief anymore. This was retaliation. He wasn't trying to win me back. He was punishing me for leaving. Lauren whispered, Madeline, this is escalating. I nodded. The officer looked at me. Ma'am, I've seen messy divorces, but pranking your spouse for social media and then trashing the place? That's new. I almost laughed. Almost. We sent everything to Marissa that afternoon. Photos, itemized list, timestamps. Her reply was immediate. This strengthens your position. Property destruction. Potential theft. Do not go back there. That night, back at my parents' house, exhaustion finally hit me like a wave. Not the physical kind. The emotional kind that settles into your bones and makes everything feel heavy. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying 5 years of memories and wondering which ones were real, which smiles were genuine, which moments were already being edited in his head for future content. My phone buzzed again. Another video. This one was worse. Ryan was crying. Full-on, red face, shaking voice crying. No makeup, no filters, he said, like that made him honest. I've lost my wife. I've lost my home. I don't know how things got this bad. He didn't mention the trashed apartment. Didn't mention the missing items. Didn't mention the fact that he'd turned our marriage into a monetized betrayal. Instead, he looked into the camera and said, I just wanted to make people laugh. The comments exploded. People sent him money. Actual money. Supportive messages, heart emojis, you deserve better speeches. And then, someone linked my Reddit post. Then another. Then another. Suddenly, the comment section fractured. People started comparing stories. pointing out inconsistencies, posting screenshots. Ryan made his account private that night. Damage control. Too late. Screenshots are forever. Marissa called me the next morning. Her voice was calm but firm. "This is no longer just a divorce," she said. "This is harassment, and we're going to need to protect you." I swallowed. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said, "if he shows up anywhere near you, work, home, family, we file for a restraining order." A pause. And based on what I'm seeing, it's not a question of if. It was a question of when. I looked out the window at my parents' quiet street, at the life I'd temporarily retreated into like a wounded animal. And for the first time since that night, fear crept in. Not fear of losing Ryan. Fear of how far he'd go to keep control of the story. Because he'd already shown me one thing very clearly. When the camera is on, nothing is sacred. Not love. Not privacy. Not me. And deep down, I knew. He wasn't finished yet. Ryan didn't wait long to escalate. 3 days after he made his account private, he made it public again, with a new video already queued. This one wasn't about heartbreak. It was about power. The caption alone made my stomach drop. "When you finally stand up to an emotionally abusive marriage." I watched it alone. Lauren had offered to sit with me, but this felt like something I had to face without witnesses, like reading your own medical chart when the diagnosis is bad. Ryan sat closer to the camera this time. Intimate. Confessional. "I never wanted to say this," he began softly, eyes downcast. "But I need to speak my truth." My jaw tightened. "My wife was verbally controlling throughout our marriage," he continued. "Everything had to be her way. I was constantly walking on eggshells. The prank was me finally taking my power back." I felt heat rush to my face. Not because it hurt, because it was a lie so bold it bordered on performance art. He went on. "She made me feel small, unseen. When I tried to be creative, she shut me down. When I tried to have fun, she punished me." Creative. Fun. That's what he called filming my trauma. The comments were a wildfire. People believed him. People wanted to believe him. Because the internet loves a story where a man rebrands cruelty as self-expression. A hashtag started trending locally by that evening. Free Ryan. I didn't even know that was possible. I found out because a woman at the grocery store recognized me. I was standing in the produce aisle, staring at avocados like they'd personally offended me, when I felt someone watching. "You're her," the woman said. I turned. "I saw the videos," she continued, voice sharp. "You shouldn't have abandoned him like that. Men have feelings too." I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just walked away, my chest tight, my hands shaking as I left my cart behind. When I got home, Marissa was already waiting on my voicemail. Her tone was clipped. "This crossed a line. We're drafting a cease and desist. Defamation. False allegations. He has 24 hours to take it down." I sat on my parents' couch, staring at the wall as the words echoed. Defamation. That word meant something now. Ryan took the video down after 36 hours. 36 hours of damage. 36 hours of people deciding who I was based on a man who needed an audience to breathe. Then came the money. We had separate accounts, thank God. But like most couples, we had one shared account for rent and utilities. About $4,800. Money we'd both put in. Money I'd planned to split fairly during the divorce. I found out it was gone because my banking app sent a notification. Balance, $0. My heart dropped into my stomach. I called Marissa immediately. She didn't even sound surprised. "Emergency motion," she said. "Judge will order half returned, possibly more, depending on intent." Within 24 hours, the court ordered Ryan to return half or face contempt charges. He transferred it back with a memo that read, "Hope you're happy." I stared at the screen, numb. Then my mother's phone rang. It was Ryan's mother, screaming, accusing me of theft, calling me manipulative, claiming I was leaving her son penniless. My father took the phone halfway through the call. His voice was calm in that dangerous way it gets when he's done being patient. "Lose this number," he said, "or we'll file harassment charges." The line went dead. I thought that would be the worst of it. I was wrong. Ryan showed up at the hospital the next afternoon. During my shift, I was charting when I heard raised voices at the front desk. Security moved fast. Too fast for it to be a coincidence. Then I heard my name. "Madeline!" I froze. Every instinct screamed danger. I stepped into the hallway just in time to see Ryan being held back by 2 security guards. His eyes locked onto mine. Red. Wild. Wet with tears. "Please!" he cried loudly. "I just want to talk to my wife." Patients stared. Families stared. Coworkers stared. The ER is not a place for drama. People were bleeding. People were dying. And Ryan was staging another scene. My supervisor appeared beside me, jaw tight. "Is this him?" I nodded once. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Ryan saw me and surged forward. "She won't even look at me," he shouted. "She's turning everyone against me." Security escorted him out. He didn't go quietly. He never does. That night he posted about it. Went to apologize to my wife at work. Got treated like a criminal. Left out the part where he'd refused to leave. Left out the part where he was sobbing in a waiting room full of sick people. Left out the part where he used my workplace as a stage. Marissa didn't wait this time. We filed for a restraining order the next morning. The paperwork felt heavy in my hands. Not because I doubted it, because I never imagined I'd need protection from the man I married. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. Mediation for asset division was set for the following Tuesday. Ryan's demands came in writing. He wanted the apartment. It was a rental. He wanted moving costs paid. He wanted half my retirement account, the one I started years before we met. Marissa shut it all down. Cleanly. Legally. Cold. Then his counter-demand arrived. $15,000 for emotional harm. I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound that surprised even me. The man who monetized my trauma wanted compensation for his feelings. The audacity was almost impressive. Marissa looked at me across her desk. "We go to mediation. If he stays unreasonable, we go to trial." I nodded, exhausted, but steady. Because somewhere between the bedroom, the videos, the lies, and the hospital ambush, something had hardened inside me. Not bitterness. Boundaries. Ryan wanted to keep performing. I was done being part of the show. And if he thought court was another stage, he was about to learn the difference between content and consequences. The restraining order hearing was on a Thursday morning. I wore a navy blazer and flats that didn't make noise when I walked. It felt important not to announce myself, not to perform. I'd learned by then that silence was my armor. Ryan arrived late. Of course he did. He came in looking smaller than he did on camera, less polished, less confident. No ring light, no carefully framed angles. Just a man with wrinkled sleeves and red-rimmed eyes who kept glancing around like he expected an audience to applaud his entrance. When the judge asked him why he was there, Ryan launched into it like a monologue he'd practiced. "I was just trying to save my marriage," he said, voice trembling. "I love my wife. I made a mistake, sure, but she's trying to destroy my life." My attorney, Marissa, didn't interrupt. She waited. Then she stood and calmly presented the timeline. The prank, the monetized video, the follow-up posts, the defamatory claims, the trashed apartment, the missing property, the drained bank account, the hospital ambush, one by one, documented, time-stamped. When the TikTok videos were played in court, the sound echoed too loudly in the small room. Ryan flinched when my face appeared on the screen, frozen in that doorway, caught between belief and devastation. The judge watched without expression. When it was over, he leaned forward slightly. "Ma'am," he said to Ryan, voice firm, "humiliating your spouse publicly and then harassing her when she removes herself is not an attempt to save a marriage." Ryan opened his mouth. His lawyer touched his arm. Too late. The restraining order was granted. 6 months, 500 feet from me, my workplace, and my family's home. Ryan cried in court. Real tears this time. But something about them felt empty, because even then he kept glancing toward the back of the room, like he was still hoping someone was watching. Mediation the following week was worse. He came in demanding $20,000 now, up from $15,000. He wanted the living room furniture. He wanted me to sign a statement saying the divorce was mutual and amicable. Marissa slid our counteroffer across the table. Clean break. Split the security deposit. Each keep what we brought into the marriage. No statement. No money. Ryan laughed. A bitter, disbelieving sound. "After everything you put me through," he said, staring at me like I'd betrayed him again. I met his eyes for the first time in weeks. "You put yourself through this," I said quietly. Mediation failed. We went to trial. It lasted 1 day. That was all it took. Marissa presented the evidence like a surgeon. Precise, unemotional, impossible to ignore. Then Ryan took the stand. His lawyer tried to paint him as misunderstood. Creative. Emotional. Someone who made a bad joke. Marissa stood. "Why did you post the video publicly?" she asked. "If it was just a private joke between you and your wife." Ryan hesitated. My followers like that kind of content." "So you prioritized your social media following over your wife's feelings?" "That's not, And you monetized the video?" "Yes." "Approximately how much did you earn?" Ryan swallowed. "Around $3,400. And after she filed for divorce, you posted videos accusing her of abuse. Why?" He looked down. I was hurt. The courtroom was silent. The judge didn't need more. The verdict came back the same afternoon. Divorce granted on grounds of irreconcilable differences. No alimony. No settlement. Assets split fairly. Ryan ordered to pay half my legal fees due to unnecessary escalation. He was also ordered to remove any remaining content referencing me or the divorce. Outside the courthouse, his mother was waiting. She screamed. She called me names. She said I'd ruined her daughter's, his, life. My father stepped forward. Calm. Steady. My daughter's whole world doesn't include being a TikTok character, he said. We left. Got burgers. Sat in silence. And for the first time in months, I felt something like relief. It didn't last long. 2 days after the divorce was finalized, Ryan posted again. Blurred face. Altered voice. Talking about narcissistic ex-wives who can't handle strong men. People connected the dots immediately. Comments linked back to everything. Marissa sent one more cease and desist. The video came down within the hour. I haven't heard from him since. I moved into a smaller apartment closer to the hospital. 1 bedroom. Just me. No cameras. No surprises. Work's been busy in the best way. I helped deliver a baby in the ER last week. Mom didn't make it upstairs in time. When the baby cried, something in my chest loosened. Life keeps going. I'm seeing someone casually. Nothing serious. He's kind. Quiet. Thinks the prank thing was insane. Good sign. The original video is still out there, somewhere. Reposts, reactions, commentary channels. Millions of views. People still recognize me sometimes. Last week, a barista said, "Weren't you that nurse whose husband pranked her?" I smiled. "Not my husband anymore," I said. She nodded. Good. Yeah, good. 5 years ended because someone thought betrayal was comedy. Lesson learned. Marry someone who respects you more than they respect their follower count. Life's too short to be someone's content.